When I found out, I wasn't surprised. That was the first thing he said. The moment he walked in, before sitting down, before asking anything, before even looking at me, he sat down, hands on the table, locked together, back straight, jaw tight. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at a point in the middle of the room. Nowhere. Nothing. I want to ask you something, he said. Can a person be with you for years without ever taking you seriously? He waited. He wasn't looking for an answer, really. He already knew the answer. Jacob was 32. He owned his own business. From the outside, someone with everything in its place. Hardworking, successful, standing on his own 2 feet. But he had come here, and people who come here are usually not what they look like from the outside. 6 years, he said. For 6 years I ran after her. Everything. Money. Status. The right circles. All of it. He paused, and she was only with me. To have fun. From the very beginning. His voice didn't waver when he said that, but his hands tightened. The tips of his fingers went white. So people tell their pain loudly. They cry. They shout. They pour it all out. Jacob was different. He had buried everything inside for years, and now here he was, a man tired of carrying that weight. When did you find out? I asked. A few months ago. He paused. But that wasn't the most shocking part. What was the most shocking part? When I found out, I wasn't surprised. Tell me, I said. Start from the beginning. And Jacob told me. I worked at a café across from the university, said Jacob. How old were you? 22. Working and studying at the same time. Early opening in the mornings, classes in the evenings. He paused. Mara came in every morning with her friends. Coffee, croissants, long conversations. He gave a small laugh, but there was an old pain in that laugh. The first day I saw her, I froze. She was so sure of herself, so at ease, like the world revolved around her. You like her, I said. Very much, but I couldn't open up. I was a cafe worker, she was a university student. There was a distance between us, at least that's how I felt. She came in for weeks. Jacob noticed everything. How she liked her coffee, which table she sat at, what time she arrived. One day, she turned to me. Are you always this serious? She said. She laughed. What did you do? I laughed too. What else could I do? And then, she gave me her number. You can text me, she said. That night, Jacob couldn't sleep. I told myself this girl is out of my league. But I texted, and she texted back. Sometimes the most dangerous doors are the ones that open the easiest. He told me about their first date. Mara had chosen one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. A whole week's pay went into that evening. But it didn't matter, because she smiled. Was that smile enough? I asked. At the time, yes. His voice dropped. At the time, yes. He paused. And on the way home that night for the first time, I thought, this is worth it. She is worth it. I'll do whatever it takes. Some decisions aren't made in big moments. They're made with a small smile, on an ordinary night, and they change everything. But he didn't yet know the cost of that decision, and it would take years to find out. How did the relationship develop? I asked. After that first date. It continued, said Jacob, but it was always one-sided. I couldn't see that at the time. Mara was never fully there. Jacob arranged the dates. Jacob made the plans. Mara was always the one who canceled. My friends wanted to go out. I'm tired. I forgot. There was always a reason. How did those cancellations affect you? I asked. I felt inadequate, but I wouldn't admit that to myself at the time. Instead, I started trying harder, like if I became a better person. She'd care more. After graduating, Jacob started a small business. It was hard at first. Little money, little work. Mara was very critical during that period. What's going to come of this? She'd say. Why don't you work somewhere stable? And I tried to prove myself. I was working to prove it to her, not to myself. Is there a difference? I asked. He thought. A huge difference. If I'd worked for myself, I would have rested when I was tired. I was working to prove it to her, so I could never stop. The business grew. Money started coming in. Mara's demands grew too. First a car, then vacations. Then my friends go to places like this conversations. And I try to keep up with all of it. He paused. I stopped seeing my friends. I gave up my hobbies. My family said, we're losing you. I said, I'm busy. Was Mara aware of these sacrifices? I asked. Jacob was quiet for a moment. She was aware, he said finally, but she didn't care. A person gets so focused on what they're chasing, they stop seeing what they're leaving behind. Jacob didn't see it either, and Mara never once said, "Stop, that's enough." Because the more tired Jacob got, the more he gave, and that suited Mara just fine. But Jacob hadn't learned the heaviest thing yet, and all it would take was one coincidence. While things were growing at work, how were things with Mara? I asked. More tense, said Jacob. I was working more, she was complaining more. You're neglecting me. We don't spend enough time together. And I'd apologize. I'd work more so I'd have more time. But that didn't work either. How didn't it work? When I made time, something else was missing. Money, attention, status, always something. I was always one step behind her expectations. He paused, but I kept running, because stopping felt like failing. Around this time, Mara had started a new job. She'd mentioned the people she met there from time to time. Colleagues, meetings, lunches. One day she mentioned Ryan, said he was a colleague. They were working on a project together. What did you feel at that moment? Nothing. It didn't catch my attention. Mara was active in her work life. She worked with a lot of people. But gradually, things started to change. Small things. She started turning her phone face down. The days she stayed late were increasing. When I asked, she always said work is busy. Did something build up inside you? I asked. It did. But every time I asked, Mara would turn it around. You don't trust me. And I'd tell myself, you're being paranoid. Because I didn't want to look insecure. I didn't want to look weak. One night, he went to visit her unannounced. They were living separately at the time. Jacob in his own apartment, Mara in hers. I went to visit Mara. Without telling her, I wanted to surprise her. He paused. When she opened the door, her face changed. How did it change? She was surprised, but not happy surprised. More like panic. She quickly said, "Come in." There was a voice coming from the living room. His voice flattened. Ryan was there. He's my colleague. The project meeting ran late. We stopped by, she said. Very smoothly, like she'd rehearsed it. Jacob didn't ask anything that night. He went home, sat down, thought, why didn't you ask? I said, because I wasn't ready to hear the answer. Sometimes you already know the truth, but you choose not to ask, because you also know that once you ask, everything changes. A week later he asked. Mara denied it at first, then went quiet, then said something. You were neglecting me anyway, she said. You weren't there enough. You always had your work, your money, your things. I was lonely. Jacob looked at me. For 6 years, I had been chasing her, working to prove everything to her, and I was the one at fault. He paused. The worst part, in that moment, a part of me thought maybe she's right. The longer someone makes you feel small, the easier it becomes to believe their accusations. Jacob had felt inadequate for 6 years, and Mara used exactly that. But this wasn't the last thing Jacob would learn. The real blow hadn't come yet. What happened after the relationship ended? I asked. I froze for a while, said Jacob. I kept going to work. Got up, came back. But I felt empty inside. He paused. Then I called an old friend. We were very close before I met Mara. A lot of time had passed between us. What happened? How are you? He said. I said fine. Then we went quiet. What did you feel in that silence? He didn't know me anymore. I didn't know him either. 6 years had passed, and in those 6 years, I had only been chasing Mara. No time left for my friends, my hobbies, myself. He opened his hands on the table, looked at them. Then he told me one more thing. A few weeks later, he had run into an old friend of Mara's at a cafe. By chance. They hadn't been in touch for a long time. Jacob, I've been wondering about you, she said. We sat down and talked. He paused. Then she said something. Said it without hesitating, like she assumed I already knew. What did she say? His voice flattened. You know, Mara never took you seriously. She'd only started going out with you for fun at first. Among her friends you always went by. The cafe kid. The room went quiet. What did you feel when you heard that? I asked. I wasn't surprised. He looked at me. That's the worst part. I wasn't surprised. Like I already knew. But I didn't want to know. Sometimes the truth doesn't come all at once. It seeps in slowly. And one day, when you hear it, you just nod, because a voice inside you had been saying it all along. "The cafe kid," said Jacob again. No anger in his voice, no tears, just exhaustion. 6 years. 6 years I ran. I made money, built a business, gave her everything she wanted. And in her eyes, I was always just a cafe kid. He paused. This broke me more than the cheating. "Why?" I asked. "Because cheating can be a mistake. There can be regret. But the cafe kid, that means they never saw me. Not from the beginning. Not ever." And that was the moment Jacob truly broke. Silently, across the table, hands in front of him, not making a sound. Because some pain runs too deep, it doesn't scream. It just sits and waits. "Right now, what are you most angry about?" I asked. "At Mara or something else?" Jacob thought for a long time. "Myself," he said. "Why?" "Because the signs are always there. Every cancellation, every criticism, every not enough look. But I didn't see them. Would it be more accurate to say you didn't want to see them?" I said. He looked at me. "Yes, I didn't want to see. Because if I did, I'd have to accept that 6 years have been wasted." He locked his hands together. "In those 6 years, I lost my friends. I gave up my hobbies. I drifted from my family. All of it. To chase her." He paused. "And she was only ever with me. To have fun. So what's left in your life now?" I asked. Jacob was quiet for a moment. "My work," he said. "And myself." He paused. "But I don't know myself anymore. I haven't been myself. For 6 years. There's a voice inside all of us. The one that says this isn't right." Jacob heard that voice too. But he silenced it. Because believing was easier than seeing. And now I was sitting across from a man whose voice had been silenced for years. "When you found out Mara called you the cafe kid," I said, "what was your first reaction?" "I didn't do anything. I went home, sat down, stayed there for a long time." "Did you cry?" "No." "Why not?" He thought. "Because I didn't even have the energy to cry. I had given everything to her. There was nothing left. Not even enough to cry." A silence fell. "What would you have done when you find out that the thing you spent 6 years chasing never took you seriously? Not once." Write it below. Jacob's story isn't over yet. "What happened after?" I asked. "After the relationship ended, did you ever hear from Mara?" Jacob gave a small laugh. "She called," he said, "several times. Sent messages." "I'm sorry," she said. "I made a mistake," she said. "I don't want to lose you," she said. "What did you do?" The first week I didn't answer. Then one day I picked up. "Why did you pick up?" He thought. "Because a part of me was still waiting for her to apologize. A real apology. The kind that says, I never took you seriously. I called you the cafe kid. I stole 6 years of your life." That apology never came. It never came. "I love you. I made a mistake. It won't happen again," she said. She cried. And for a moment, I believed again. He paused. "We tried for one more week, but it didn't work." Why didn't it work? Because every time I looked at her, I heard the words cafe kid. I couldn't erase them. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I wanted to, those words were still there. "And how did that make you feel?" I asked. "Tired. So tired." A silence fell. "Jacob," I said, "for 6 years you ran. You gave everything to catch up with her. Your friends, your hobbies, your time. And she saw you as the cafe kid. From the very beginning." He looked at me. "But let me also say this. When she came back, you answered the phone. Because you still felt something. That doesn't make you weak. What does it make me then? Human." He paused. "The question isn't, why did I keep believing? The question is, now, for the first time, if you ran only for yourself, where would you go?" Jacob was quiet for a long time. "I don't know," he said finally. "I know," I said, "but you'll find out." That day, Jacob didn't make a decision. But for the first time, he sat in that chair for himself, not for anyone else. And when he walked out, his steps were different from when he came in. Not faster, more his own. Sometimes the purpose of therapy isn't to heal you. It's to bring you back to yourself. James.